Cable modem manufacturers, I'm talking to you right now. Why do none of you make a rack-mountable cable modem? Today's video is brought to you by Ridge Wallet. Since the dawn of time, wallets have been two things: leather and bulky. Ridge Wallet's space-saving design is not only easier to carry around, it keeps your money safe with RFID blocking built in. The Ridge expands to hold up to 12 cards, is available with either a money clip or cash strap, and best of all, comes with a lifetime warranty should anything ever go wrong. Available in aluminum, titanium, or carbon fiber, and in a variety of different finishes, there's a Ridge Wallet out there to match your style. Visit ridge.com/craft to check out the Ridge Wallet for yourself and receive 10% off your order. That's ridge.com/craft. Welcome back to Craft Computing, everyone. As always, I'm Jeff, and at the moment I have a problem that is shared by home labbers and businesses alike. Why in the world can I not rack mount my cable modem? All the rest of my equipment rack mounts. Why is that the odd man out? In all my years of searching, not once have I found a cable modem manufacturer that will make a rack-mounted cable modem. It seems like a pretty obvious thing, but no one does it. Well, luckily for us, there's at least a couple users on Thingiverse who share my feelings, and so I found this. This is a rack-mount adapter for an Arris cable modem, and today we're going to put it in my rack. We're also going to be putting another product to the test today. If you remember back to my last video, you might have seen me struggle ever so slightly, screwing a couple of my servers into the rack using traditional cage nuts. So today we're going to rack mount my cable modem, and we're going to find out if cage nuts are obsolete by remounting my home lab servers. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. So the first step is to obviously power down the cable modem. However, I only give it about 30 seconds before someone runs through the door and asks me, why is the internet down? So this is the rack mount for the cable modem, and it is entirely 3D printed. And I have to say, I really do like the design. The cable modem sits right here in the center, and there's even a keystone jack on the side of this, so you can pass your RJ45 port through to the front. The entire assembly is just 4 pieces. There's the front facade itself, there's a rear bracket, and then there's 2 side arms that bolt to each side. So here is my cable modem. It is an Arris SB8200, and it's going to slot in something like this. There's a bracket that runs down each side of this. And the side brackets are going to be held in place by these number 8 3/4 inch long sheet metal screws. And last but not least, we're going to put this rear bracket on top and hold it in place with these number 4 3/8 inch long screws. And there we go. One rack-mounted cable modem. And last but not least, we're going to add this Cat6 keystone jack to the panel so we can access the cable modem RJ45 from the front. And there we go. All right, the cable modem is all mounted up, and it's time to put it back in the rack. But instead of reaching for my usual cage nut kit, I told you there was another product that I wanted to try out today. A couple of weeks ago, a company called Rackstuds reached out to me and offered to send me this trial kit, and I jumped at the chance because you saw the frustration I had with mounting my home lab servers. So we're going to give these a shot today, both with mounting the cable modem, which will be the easy task, but we're also going to mount my home lab servers, which are just a little bit heavier. I went over how to use cage nuts a couple videos ago. However, this is a quick refresher. This is a cage nut, and it installs on the back side of a rack just like that. You put the device that you want to hang over the top of it, and then you feed this screw right in there. And that's what holds all of your equipment into the rack. Now, as you can see, it's a 2 or sometimes 3-handed operation to make these actually work. Now, this is a rack stud, and trust me, I'm just as dubious as you are. I have not tried these yet, but the company assures me this will hold just as much weight as a traditional cage nut. Unlike a cage nut, there is a top and a bottom to these. You're supposed to install it with the spring mechanism facing the side, so something like this. Now we're going to install these by holding that at a 45-degree angle and then clicking that spring into place. And we just do that for each side. The next piece is this yellow locking washer, and this ensures that the spring in the rack stud can't be compressed, resulting in the equipment falling out of the rack. As you can see, there's this little nub right here which goes between the spring and the body of the rack stud, and those just slip on right over the top. And last but not least are the rack stud nuts. They look something like this, and they just thread onto the end of the rack studs and hold your equipment in place. They can also be tightened down with a Phillips screwdriver or a 10mm driver, although good luck finding one of those. All right, let's go ahead and put our equipment into place. So here is the final result, and I have to say I really like the way these rack studs installed. The clips went in nice and easy, they held the equipment while I was screwing it in, and they screwed down nice and tight. And I have to say it is so nice having a rack-mounted cable modem now. Hint, hint, Arris. But this test is far from over, mainly because most of the equipment I mount in my rack weighs more than 1.5 pounds of 3D printed filament. So we're going to move on to something a little bit harder. All right, so let's get these things installed. So again, we go at a 45-degree angle and snap it into place. Helps if you do it with the threaded side out though. There we go. All right, now according to them, I should be able to slide the server in here, just support the back of it, and screw onto those studs. So let's see how that goes. Oh. I almost forgot an important part. You got to put the locking washers on there. All right, now we can slide the server in there. Although I already see one design flaw. You hear that? Maybe not. That's the locking nut rubbing on the handle for this server. It does eventually clear it, but certainly not ideal. All right, so that's 4 plastic rack studs holding this thing about as firm as I would expect some cage nuts to. That's actually kind of impressive. Let's see what else we can hold. All right, I'm impressed. That's 60 pounds worth of server being supported by these 4 rack studs. To be clear, these top 2 servers aren't being held in with anything. I'm impressed. All right, let's go ahead and permanently install the other 2 servers. I'm doing this funny thing where I keep trying to put this threaded insert in with the threads in first because, well, that's how you mount servers up, by screwing into the rack, not by putting the studs facing out and then putting a nut on top of it. This is going to take some time to wrap my brain around. Oh, come on. All right. I'm a believer. All right, and again, just to be clear about this, these are all being held in with rack studs, and if we open this bottom panel, there is nothing supporting these. That is all on those rack studs. I'm pretty impressed. I'm legitimately impressed. That was 60 pounds sitting on 4 rack studs on this bottom server. There were no tricks, there was nothing else. That was legit 60 pounds of server on 4 plastic studs. I see these as being a pretty good tool in your toolbox. I don't necessarily see these as replacing cage nuts entirely though, so I'm not here to say that cage nuts are obsolete. And the biggest reason to me is actually going to come down to price. So this package right here, this is a package of 40 rack studs, and there's actually 2 different sizes of rack studs depending on the thickness of the metal you have inside of your rack. There's this burgundy colored one and there's this purple colored one. So this pack comes with 20 of each of these. This was $50. That means each stud, washer, and nut assembly that you're putting together is $1.25. That's a bit of a hard sale to me. Conversely, these traditional cage nuts and M6 screws come in a pack of 100 for about $19. That's 19 cents versus $1.25 per screw. Don't get me wrong, I love the idea of these, and in fact, I think it's worth having some in a rack, but I'm not ready to replace every single thing in my rack with these quite yet. For devices like my home lab, which will likely be in and out of this rack quite a bit, This makes a lot of sense just from a convenience standpoint, being able to unscrew it, slide it out, slide it back in as if it had rails when it doesn't have rails. It's much, much easier to install these servers without a third hand. But if you look at some of the other devices inside of my rack that really aren't going to be moving in and out of my rack at all, there's my KVM console, there's the KVM switch itself, there's my switches, there's my UDM Pro. All of that is going to be permanently mounted and really not ever moving. Now, if you know what size of rack stud you need, they sell a pack of 100 for about $60, which means you're getting them for 60 cents a piece. That's a lot more compelling than $1.25 for the trial pack. But at the same time, that's still 3 times more expensive than a traditional cage nut. So, like I said, another tool to have in your tool bag, but not the be-all end-all to replace cage nuts. But what do you guys think? Do you like the concept of the rack studs, or would you rather stick with M6 bolts and cage nuts? Let me know down in the comments below. Shout out to Rackstuds for sending these over for review, and shout out to my friend Josh for donating some 3D printer time in exchange for a barrel-aged beer. I hope you really enjoyed that Ale Apothecary. As always, if you liked this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to Craft Computing if you haven't done so already. Follow me on Twitter at Craft Computing to keep up with daily shenanigans like this, and if you like the content you see on the channel and want to help support me in what I do, consider joining the Patreon. Link is down in the video description. As always, thank you all so much for watching this one, and I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys. It's a good way to finish a day. I know, it's a weird way to do this. I didn't open the beer until the outro, but I'm reviewing it now. So this is a Kansas collaboration series between Walnut River Brewing and Norsemen Brewing. It is the Kveik Black Oat IPA. It is a 7% black IPA. It's interesting. Maybe if I pour it in a glass, that'll help. All right, first impressions. It is 2/3 beer and 1/3 foam, just the way John likes it. Let me get through this foam here and I'll give you an actual review. I'm gonna be perfectly honest. It smells like nothing. It smells like nothing. Yeah, there's almost no aroma on this beer. That is bizarre. It's definitely a much drier IPA, and like a lot of the IPAs that I've drank out of the Kansas area, this one is much, much more earthy than what we get around here in the Northwest. It's still hop forward, but it's a completely different hop profile. You know when you're sitting by the river as a kid and you started eating mud before your mom yelled at you? It's kind of what this is. You know what this tastes a lot like? This tastes like one of the Budweiser Copper Reserve lagers with a little bit of extra hops added to it. It's that kind of flavor, where it's not a bad beer. I'm not gonna say it's a bad beer, but it's very simple. It's very one direction. There's no complexity to it. It doesn't evolve. It shows you hops up front, and then it dries out a little bit in the end. It has no aroma. There's nothing offensive about this beer, but there's also nothing redeeming about this beer. It's just a beer, and it happens to have hops in it, and it happens to be black. Yeah, that's the review. There's nothing complex about this one. I think this might be a great introduction to an IPA. If someone wants to know what an IPA might taste like, but doesn't want to like dive into the, double dank, grassy, IPAs. This one introduces hops in a flavor that might be a little bit more familiar to some people. Yeah, it's like a slightly darker Budweiser Copper Reserve. There you go.